Hey, it's Jay here. I'm going to do the e-reader book tag, Mika Cummings' first original tag, which it's a good one. It's a good one, and I love talking about e-readers. So let's get into it. Here are the prompts. There's 7 prompts, and then I get to tag people. First prompt: what was the first e-reader you ever owned? What was your reason for getting one? Were you a reluctant convert or an eager one? My first e-reader was a Kobo Touch with a nice quilted back of this plastic thing. Yeah, I think it's one of these things of I'd always been really interested in getting one. I mean, because I'm 50 plus, I was always one of these people who would carry a book around with me at all times. And the idea of being able to have like access all the time to be able to just carry something around to read, which actually more and more turned out to be my phone, but was getting an e-reader. And the thing is, like, having being able to read on your phone is one thing, but as a reader, I want something that's just sort of dedicated to that I'm not going to um skip off and just start surfing the web or something like that. So getting an e-reader, a dedicated e-reader, was definitely something I was kind of eager to do. Yeah, so I wasn't reluctant convert. Definitely, I was interested, especially because it was e-ink, and it wasn't going to be something where the screen was going to be shining back at me. And indeed, especially the early e-readers, they didn't actually come with a built. This just doesn't come with a built-in light to it, which was a positive. And I think I went for Kobo, especially at the beginning, because it could use EPUB, and especially the Kindles at the time. At least my vague impression was there was a lot more kind of DRM stuff. Actually, it turns out that the Kobos were, I think at the time, were harder to strip the DRM off of than the Kindles, which kind of is where I then transition. What e-read number 2? What e-reader do you use now, and what e-readers do you own? Um, the e-reader that I have now is a Kindle Paperwhite, not the signature edition. This is the older one with the annoying power button at the bottom. You get your I have a cover. I put stickers on here basically because I kept on losing the bloody thing, but I also sticker of a tree on the front of an e-reader is fun. And then my niece decided to decorate with the colorful ones, and then I just put my voting in the last municipal election on there for just a little bit extra little color there, so it's harder to find. I Before this, I had another Kindle which started turning the pages at random on its own, so ended up tossing that one and getting this one. It's always one of these things where I've looked at the more expensive, like the Oasis, or the more expensive ones, but I could never particularly. They never seemed actually that much better to me than just getting kind of your more basic ones. I'm in Canada, so I haven't had trouble with, like, having ads on. I like using the night mode that is kind of recently come up, because when I read at night, I find the white page especially even on the e-ink thing, I don't like that. So I like having the black page, perhaps because when I set my phone, it's also on night mode now. So it's nice to have night mode on both things. I just use that all day and night. I use that. But yeah, I've never found that particularly the more expensive ones to me have struck me as going to be any better than just sort of the basic one. I'm very much about, okay, I just want to read the material. I think, yeah, yeah. So there's that. Um, Number 3, do you read digitally on multiple devices or always on the same device? If you use multiple, how do you decide which one to use? I mean, this is when you get outside of dedicated e-readers and where I use my phone, because I mean, I think that's the big thing about a Kindle, is that I can read it on my Kindle, but if I'm out and about, I can pull out my phone, click on the Kindle app, and they're synced. And it'll take me right to the same page that I'm on. on this one, which is really, really convenient. And just like I always have a book, I always have a really large library of books with me at all time, which is important as a reader. Number four, do you still read physical books? If so, how do you decide which format to read a certain book in? I read a lot less physical books now. I was actually thinking about this. At the moment I am reading, as I showed there, I'm reading Orlando Furioso, but I'm also reading The Secrets of the Flesh, Life of Colette. I'm reading less. Um, I'm reading The Need for Words by Patsy Rudenberg. I'm slowly working my way through that. And I just finished Like, Comment, and Subscribe. So I was like, I'm not reading any physical books. It's funny, with less at the moment, I was inspired to start reading a lot of Andrew Sean Greer's things because I found a paper copy of Less in the our local little free library, but I haven't actually used this. I've been using the e-copy, even though that I have this in my office. I could be reading the physical book, but yeah, I haven't been. So I'm not exactly quite sure what that's how that bodes well, how that bodes for me, but I haven't been. Now, there is the fact that there are still some books that even with Amazon, you can't find every book that you want. And I was listening to Roz at Scally Dangling about the books, talking about this book, The Woman of Tiju Papo by Marlene Felinto, a Brazilian author. And I could not find this online, so I ended up ordering it through not Amazon and getting it shipped to me as a used copy, paper copy. So this is one of these instances where if I can't find it digitally and then have it delivered to me instantly, I get a paper copy. Now that said, there's a lot of stuff that I go, "Ooh, I want that." I get it, and then it'll just sit on my Kindle for months, years, and the same thing can happen with, like, I don't know when I will get to this book. So there is that. I mean, that's the great thing about being able to look up things digitally. Is like, oh, you can get it instantly. But I'm such a slow reader that I get it instantly, and then it'll be like 6 months later, at best, that I'll actually get around to reading the book. So yes, number four. What is it? What is something you dislike about reading ebooks? I think the thing I dislike about reading ebooks, which I made a note of in my kind of what's your perfect book question from whatever video that was the idea of taking notes. It's like I would like it if I could take a note and it would actually somehow physically appear on the screen. That's something that I that, like, you make a note, but it just sort of disappears within the guts of the machine and you have to kind of go into your note section. It's like, I'd sort of like an option where you could flick it on and you could see all of your notes actually on the screen as well as on the thing. Even though I'm there's that, I think there's just sort of a thing of like how well you can kind of flip through a book. Like, that's one of these things with even, with a little the touch screen, you're going tish 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 and you're only going kind of like one. It's like you want something where you could kind of rapidly scroll through a whole bunch of the book. And it just doesn't have that kind of a function to it. You don't have that kind of the physicality of, like, you're reading along in a book and like, I'm at this part of the book and you physically know that here I am. Oh, and it's 15 and like, oh, I've got notes written on the side about it. It's like, yes, I do write on my books. That is something that is something that hasn't quite really been replicated yet in ebooks for all its thing. I think Mika talked about kind of the expense of ebooks, and I mean, I definitely find that. I think my Andrew Sean Greer has his sequel to this book out, Less is Lost, and I think it's like $18 for the ebook of it, and it does kind of irk you to think, oh, you're expecting me to pay 18 bucks. I think the writer should be paid for their book, but you're expecting me to pay $18 to not even buy a electronic file, but to rent the rights to an electronic file. It's like you don't actually get to own the file itself. That's what the whole thing with DRM and stuff like that is. So you're expecting me to pay $18 to rent something, whereas yes, if I bought this book new, which was $20.99 Canadian. I own this book. I can resell this book. I can lend this book to other people. I'm getting a hell of a lot more for my dollar from this. Whereas I guess I'm getting the convenience and I'm getting to have it on different things. But it's like, is that really, I'm basically paying the same for this as I'm paying for a rental of your ebook, and it is a rental. It is something where Amazon still owns your digital copy and can do to it what it wants at any time, which is, yeah, that is not something that I particularly like about ebooks. And I mean, people talk about how you can strip DRM off. I find that there seems to be always an arms race with places like Amazon, where they're always trying to improve their DRM, make it more complicated, make it more difficult for people to strip it. Because I do think that, like, I would like just have independent copies somewhere stored away from Amazon that would be my own. That would be my preference. I've got no interest in pirating books from authors. It's like, Jesus, authors make hardly any money whatsoever at this point. Have never made it, and it's like, I would hate to have it come to something like music sharing and movie sharing, where stuff is widely pirated and the artists don't actually get paid for their labor, because there's so much labor in writing. Any book is such a effort, such a great task that I want to, if I'm going to read it, they should get their money for it. But I would like to actually own something. That would be kind of nice. Um, Number 6, would you ever ditch physical books completely and become a sole ebook reader? If yes, why? If no, why not? I think there would be sort of an accessibility thing. As I'm getting older, these are reading glasses, and for me to read a book, um, I can read quite nice and small print like that. That's the size of print that I can read with glasses. But when I want to get in the bath and read, I can't read. I cannot read with my glasses on, and so I end up going to my custom font, which is, if I want to read in the bath, that's the font that I use in the bath. Is That's how I can read in the bath without glasses on. And I do think that that's kind of, there's the accessibility thing of, if at some point my sight gets worse, that I definitely would become a sole ebook reader, because I'm not going to find even large type physical books that are going to be I would be able to access that way. Um, the only other, and I think the other thing would be, if for some reason I didn't have if I was fell on really harder times, that I couldn't have these books. Like, I didn't have this thing, like maybe I was just ended up in a single room somewhere. I guess then I would probably just have an e-reader, and maybe one or two treasured possessions, but I think e-reading would be my sole thing. Um, there's also just the thing of, like, how much do I actually read books? I am painfully aware now that there's a couple of books that I've been excited about, and I've bought the physical copy of, and then I've gone, oh, I'm just not getting to it because I can't carry it around with me. So I've ended up getting the e-copy and just reading that instead. So there's maybe an argument to say, unless you really, really, really love a book, maybe you should just kind of put physical books aside, once I've read, the ones I want to read here, is just kind of getting rid of them and winnowing things down and winnowing things down. I think that's, you know, if I'm 50 now, I don't want to have a whole bunch of crap left when I'm hopefully, kicking the bucket in my 80s or something like that. Well, then maybe I should start now by trying to slowly disperse them, slowly get rid of them. I don't know. That's my thing. Number 7. Where do you get your ebooks? I get them at the Kindle store, as I mentioned. My library, I've not been able to have much luck. I don't know if my library's actually gotten better at this. I get a lot of audiobooks from my library. That's where I get all my audiobooks. But I've not had much luck in getting. Well, the thing is with what I found with the library is I've been able to get them on my phone, but I find it kind of annoying to read an entire book on my phone. There's been some short ones I've read, which has been okay, but I found it kind of annoying to read them on I read on my phone. It's like I'd like if I could hook it up to my Kindle, I might give it a more of a shot. The other place that I actually get books is from Project Gutenberg, where yeah, you can just download books and then email it to your Kindle account and they'll appear on, and that's been really great. I like reading kind of old out of print books. That is something fun, really enjoyable, different kind of a world, and also very inexpensive world, especially if you're into kind of Victorians or something like that. I had a whole bunch of Trollope books that I read that way, which has been just excellent. So yeah, those are Mika's questions on your e-reading experience. So I figured I'll tag some people, some very new to me people who kind of subscribe to my channel, which thank you very much. Bandana Book Mom, Book Buds, and then I should definitely tag Tom and LA Books, who is doing his read through of Orlando Furioso at the moment, and I am so enjoying his videos. And every once in a while, I even comment on them because he's helping me kind of navigate this super long poem, which is also super funny. Which is we're in the middle of a big battle sequence at the moment in this book, or I am even probably further ahead in the battle sequence, which trying to keep everything in mind, but then we'll switch suddenly to a different story. It's got a very cinematic kind of cutting thing. Definitely check out his channel. Bookworm, Adventure Girl, and Joel Swagman. I don't know if he reads ebooks or not, but I definitely check out his channel regardless. So yeah, those are the people I tag. Thank you, Mika, for the interesting prompts, and I'll talk to you guys later. More videos later.